Hello everybody, welcome back to Sprueverse, my scale model universe, people of Earth. Welcome to part 2 of Build the USS Reliant from AMT in 1537 scale. And I've been doing an awful lot behind the scenes, but you've just joined me at a very important part in the build. Lots going on. Early on in this update, we're going to do a whole bunch of things. I'm working on some Photoetch at the moment, and I don't know about you, but sometimes putting the heavier Photoetch together can be a royal pain with glues. I just don't think they work very well. If they're tiny parts and are on a flat surface, yeah, you've got your Gator glue. You can use your microcrystal clear, you can use a little bit of CA. We've all got our own glue that we love. Well, I'm just sick of all of them. So what I've decided to do is start learning how to solder my heavier parts together, and it works very, very well. Here's what you need. You need to get yourself some paste. It's very important you get yourself some rosin paste flux. Very important. It doesn't matter what kind. This is the one I'm using. Now, what you do is you clean off your part. You have to clamp it with some things. I've got some little alligator clips, and I've got some softer clips that don't crush things, because you don't want to burn your hands in the process. The reason why I know that is because I have. So, we learn, right? But wow, it's a great process. Look, I've just soldered this one together. And now I haven't cleaned it up yet, but it's all soldered together, and it's solid. It's absolutely solid. And this part is for the shuttle bay, right? So it's going to sit in that opening like that. And it's beautiful. I mean, now it's not cleaned up yet, and it's going to need to get light blocked and painted. But the general idea is that you don't use this tacky clear part that comes with the kit. I have no idea. But don't throw it away, because it could be a window or something for something else. So I just put it in the don't use it pile, but don't chuck it away pile, because I'm just a bit of a pack rat, really, when it comes to small parts, because you never know. And so what you do is you just pull now this is the paragraphics pieces that I'm using, because the brass is really rigid. It's really good. It's a good quality brass, and I'm having a good time with it, and it's working really well. So I'm super happy with that, and all I'll need to do is light block everything with some of my slick tulip, and that'll be beautiful. And this will paint up really well too. And as long as you're soldering on the outside of the joint, the place that the part that you don't see, the inside comes together really, really, really well. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work on this one. And get yourself some good solder. I use one that says, well, this is the one. Why did I show you what I'm using? It would be so much more helpful, because sometimes this is what I'm using. Okay? Now, I know what you're saying to yourselves. You're saying, oh my God, he's just a complete train wreck of, toxic soup over there. Well, that may be true. But I'm pretty confident I'm doing okay. I wash my hands very thoroughly, and I keep everything sealed and clean. And I got all of this before tariff wars. I don't know if any of it's available anymore. I'm sure it is. I haven't tried to get anything from China in a little bit here, so I don't know. But anyway. It's a lot of fun to be free of glues and to be able to actually solder my parts together. And again, if you've got some really good brass, some decent rosin flux, and some soldering wire that has a flux capacity, not capacitor, you should be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and finish getting this one in, and that will then allow me to start completing all the detail work I'm doing on the rear part of the Reliant, basically where your impulse engines are really. But they're coming together really well, so I couldn't be happier with that. I've gone ahead and got the impulse deck or the impulse engine setup in, all glued in, so that is in, and I'm very happy with that. Now obviously, again, nothing is sanded or cleaned up, but the part is in, and then I will do some light blocking. I've also got some clear red parts that go in here, and then I've got, of course, I've got the grills that I've got to paint, and they've got to go in too. But as long as I'm just sort of working on the lower part of the saucer here, the reason why I'm doing that is because the way this kit is designed, all of your sort of the flat pieces are in the bottom of the saucer, which is actually a really good thing, because I can go ahead and I can glue in the rear of this, get this all finished and cleaned up. And then I'll be able to start focusing on lighting. So I am going to glue this part into place. I'm going to glue it into place before I actually start doing some light blocking, because I just want this, I want this to be clean, the plastic to be nice and clean, and it's sitting on here quite flush. So I'm going to put that together right now with a little bit of MEK, and that'll take care of that. And then I'm just chipping away at some of these details really. I want to get as much of the rear impulse deck and shuttle bay door area done so that it's easier for me to work on this as a little bit of a sub-assembly. But that's what we're going to do. I'm going to keep working on my Photoetch parts. I'm just following along. I'll get this all glued in, and then we will go ahead and we will get this all light blocked. But hey, all the windows are in. I did that off camera. Let me show you. They're all in, starting with the back and working my way forward. I've got my my doors in. That's a Photoetch piece that just sits on top, and then all my windows are in all the way around. So I am good to go, and I couldn't be happier that I made that choice. I don't want any add-ons. I got a whole bunch of really cool comments from my awesome subscribers, and some of you out there have used the green strawberry Photoetch plates, and you've adhered them to your ships, and you've had a great result. Awesome. I'm glad you did. I just wanted a more organic look, and I didn't want to bolt anything else on. But you know, it really is dealer's choice. As long as you are comfortable with it and it works for you, it is awesome. There's no right way or wrong way to do any of it. There's your way. Remember that. Okay. All right. So I'm thrilled you're back for part 2. There's so much to cover in this. I'm going to try to do less bloviating now and more building. And let's see what we can get accomplished in part 2. Here we go. Well, now it's time to start seriously thinking about the lighting plan, because we're at a point now where we have to start putting some sub-assemblies together, and we've got some wiring that we're going to have to get through some very tricky parts. Now I've got very tiny wires. The wires that come on the Evans design lights are pretty thin. Don't know whether they're thin enough to go through these wings, these wing tips, because the nacelles on the Reliant are below the saucer. They're not above. And then of course you've got this strong bar, this crossbar that goes across the top of the ship. And we've got torpedoes, photon torpedoes, front and rear, in the top of that crossbar. and they're going to be fired with a momentary switch that comes as part of the board when you get the lighting kit from Ralph over at Tenor Controls. So what has to happen essentially here is we're going to have to start doing some serious sort of thinking here, because now I'm sort of going to be struggling here a little bit, forgive me, but in essence, well, it's on this side. In essence, we're going to have to come, let me do this. Okay. In essence, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to come up. We're going to come out of the ship where in this sort of this strong area here, this corner bend. We're going to come out of there with our holes, and we're going to go into the nacelle and also to this strong bar that is going to go across the top. I think this will be helpful just in terms of what I'm talking about. And you can see here that the whole thing is quite interesting in terms of the engineering. I don't know if that is the ultimate way to build a starship, but far be it from me to even question it. But that's what we've got. So the wiring has to come out of the saucer. It has to go into the nacelle armature, down into the nacelle, and that will fire up our chiller grills and, of course, put our strobes on the rear of our nacelles. And then up, we have to get a wire up through the existing side support arm and into the strong arm, all the way over to the center of the top crossbar that has our photon torpedoes front and rear. And also you can see on the outer wings of the crossbar, you've got photon torpedoes there as well. You've got lights there. You've got photon torpedoes there. So those are your two momentary switches that fire the separate and distinct torpedoes. So what I'm trying to say in a long-winded way is that the next thing that we have to do is now that we've light blocked our saucer and nacelles with 3 coats of flat black, 2 coats of white, and so we are well and truly light blocked. And now what we have to do is we have to now figure out the mechanics of this, the engineering of this, because it is quite interesting. Now, there is a little bit of room here, so my instinct tells me that we should be able to feed through and into here. So what we're going to do, I think, is we're going to chase our wires and start putting these together. And so what we'll end up with is wires that are coming out and through into our crossbar. And the only challenge I see that we've got here, ladies and germs, is this. To conceal the wires in this strong bar means they have to go across. Well, it doesn't matter. They have to go across this panel, which means that I've got to gouge out just enough to allow that to sit flush, because there's nothing there. And it's got to come out. It's got to come out and into this piece. So that's what I'm going to do now. I've got everything sort of together. This is not glued together, obviously, but I've got all the detail parts that I want to put in the rear for the moment are in. And so it's a combination of different company photo etches. It's paragraphics, it's strawberry, and I've even used some lake monsters. Now, you know, you may all disagree and say, oh, I don't like those combinations. Well, I do, and I think that, you know, I can't speak to detail scale. I can only say that my goal here is to try and play with as many of these aftermarket parts as we can. And so I'm an equal opportunity part user in this build. Lots of fun. It's got lots of detail now. There's still a lot more Photoetch I can put on the exterior of this. There is this wonderful little detail that came on Green Strawberry that's not in the Paragraphics kit, and I can show you that. It's the it's this piece here, right here. And it's 3 cylinders, and you can see it's got this wonderful detailed little kind of almost like a sensor ray on the end of there, and it builds up quite beautifully. It really does. So I used it because I think you can see it, it's quite visual. Essentially, what I've done is I've just taped this up on a hinge so that we can discuss all of this. We do not have a lot of room in the in the cross beams that take wire to the take wire out to the center of the strong bar. This is the thinnest I have. Now I can go down to a magnet wire, but I just wanted to sort of demonstrate here. Let me get this on camera for you so we can demonstrate. This is a 28 gauge that I got from Evans, and if you lay it over here and then you bring over your beam or your crossbar, you can see we've got gappage. We've got quite a bit of gappage. So what I have to do is I have to try and either gouge this out to create a pathway for these wires to get through here, or the other option is to go down to a magnet wire and see if I can make that work. But you can see there's absolutely zero room to get wiring through here. So that's dilemma number one. Now I have not pulled out any magnet wire yet. I'm going to do that right now, and that is a much thinner gauge. But even then, I still think there's going to be a little bit of puttying that we're going to have to do, because there really isn't enough room. You can gouge into here just a little bit, but it is so thin that you can even see, and you can see it in this light, you can see the blue tape through the plastic. That's how thin it is. So, you know, we're going to have to be very creative there. And so I'm going to look at magnet wire for that. But before I go away and do that, I wanted to talk a little bit about these chiller grills and show you the options that we have. Now here is cob lighting, and the cob is a very, very, very unique and very clever piece of kit for us to have for our lighting options. Let me go ahead and fire this up for you. I just connected one of these so that you can see this. And what you're looking at here is the uniformity that we get with this. And if I run this through, if I put this in the back here, and I'm far enough away, let me get there, and I'm far enough away, you can see we get a lovely distribution of light. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is the closer we get this to the grill, you can see this, what starts to come into play here. So we're going to have to create a little bit of diffusion, or we're going to have to figure out how to get the lighting hidden in one side of the bottom of this or one side of the top. Either way, we're going to have to figure that out. If we now the disadvantage of this cob, unfortunately, is the width of the tape. It's got a tape back, and that's the disadvantage. Now it's got a little bit of flexibility, so we can force it. We can force it up into this crack here, like this. We can force it up into here, and that will keep it away from. It'll keep it away from the grills themselves, and so that's what I'm going to attempt to do. And then all of that lighting, as well as the lighting for the strobes, and I've already done a strobe that you can see. I've just put this in here. I coaxed it up there, and I got that to glue really nice and flush to the back here. We might probably, well, we probably will try to diffuse that just a little bit. It's quite bright. But it should do a really nice job. It should be nice and punchy, and that wiring has to come through this opening here, which is the for the nacelle. So this is the armature for the nacelle, and that is what is going to hold the nacelle to the ship itself. And so I've got room. Let me just unplug this for a second and move this out of the way. If I go to the underneath section here, and I just take this together, there's plenty of room in here. This is wide enough that there's plenty of room in here. And I've taped this to here to show you what that looks like in situ. But all the wiring is going to go through this right here. This triangle right here is completely covered, and that takes you into the saucer. Now, what has to happen though is there's going to be a little bit of a ballet here, because what is going to happen is all of this has to be pre-wired, pre-assembled, and then it has to slip in, be glued. However, everything has to be hooked up inside the saucer, which means you can't actually connect the saucer. You can't lock it up until everything is inside. So we've got quite a ballet here to be able to get everything inside, wire it up, make sure it's all working, and then seal it up. And then once that is done, you are in a position where you're now, everything is together. And so that is going to be tricky. So before we go to that step, we have to get our Aztecing down. We have to get this painted. We have to get our Aztecing down, and we have to get our impulse, not our impulse engines, our crystals, our fusion crystals. We have to get those in and connected, and everything has to get connected. The red lights for the impulse engines have to go in the back. If we want to light these little pins here, we have to go ahead and get those lit. Now, I'm hoping that I'm going to get a little bit of reflective light from all of the tape that I'm going to put in here for these windows, and I'm hoping that helps that. But you can see we're at a point now where this is quite a complicated build. This is not as easy as you think, because you know, there is an awful lot going on here. Now, one of the ways that we can help ourselves is with connectors. And Evan's design makes a really nice array of connectors. They come in packs like this, and they're just called wire connectors. Now, before we move on, I wanted to show you the 8050 because this is another option. If for some reason that cob feels like it's just not wanting to play ball, let me show you the other option here, which is the 8050. And I've got a little bit of that here. Now, the disadvantage of the 8050 is the width. You can see the width. And what that simply means is that you're just not going to get the punch, and I don't think you're going to be able to get that nice brightness. Now, we'll be hidden, but because these are so close to so far apart, I should say, you're not going to get that even distribution of light that you're going to get with the cob. And again, I got these from HDA Model Works, and I'm sure there are other sources for it. I don't know them. You'd have to do that on your own, but you know, I'm sure there's all kinds of other cob options. There may even be a noodle light option. You know, the noodle lights now come in red and blue and green. They come in white. They come in all kinds of other options. So that might be another way to go. What's tricky about the noodle lights is mounting them. You're going to need just a little bit of your hot glue on either end of the noodle, and that might work just as well. But I think I'm a fan favorite of the cob, and I just like the even distribution of light, so I think that's the way we're going to go. So here's the magnet wire, and it comes in 50-foot spools. This is from Evans, and it's a 30 gauge, and it's pre-wrapped. But when I lay it down over the crossbar plate, and I pinch this together, you can see it pinches together perfectly. So the magnet wire is definitely the way to go in this kit, because I am just loath to gouge into this. I just don't. I think it's diminishing returns. I just don't think we're going to get any value out of that. In fact, I think we're going to cause ourselves more grief than we need to. So the trick with the magnet wire is when you go to remove the insulation from it, you need just to hit it with a little bit of heat, and that will remove the insulation, and then you can go ahead and hook up your wires. But that is definitely the way to go to bring power to this thing. The 28 gauge will fit into the nacelles, and there is room to bring it up through the pylon, but not up into the crossbar for your photon torpedoes. So it's really only your photon torpedoes that we're going to have to do. So we've got four lights for the photons that have to reach the center of this pylon, and then we've got forward. I think we might have forward and rear. I have to look for the outboard photon torpedoes. I think it's only forward. I don't know why you would want rear, although it makes sense. You can, if the ship's coming up behind you, you want to be able to shoot backwards. I get it. No different than the strategy of a Lancaster bomber, right? You need a gunner in the tail. Now, the other thing is the green strawberry fruit pack contains these really cool little plates that go over your all of your lights. And what that does is it gives you a really nice clean finish. I can show you what I'm talking about here on the top of the saucer. You can see here you've got this wonderful disc, and the light can protrude through it. And what I'm most likely going to do is I'm going to use fiber optics in those, and then have my light. I won't force my light through. I think it's a scale thing, and I think I have to say I've seen a couple of these done like this, and I like the elegance of it. I like the fact that it's just not this giant light bulb, because it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. So I'm definitely going to be doing that. One other thing while I'm here, I got a bunch of emails about this Photoetch, asking if it needed to be puttied, or whether or not it's sitting correctly on the ship. And the answer to that is we won't know until we get a coat of primer on this. I call primer the soothsayer, the truth sayer. Once you get primer on things, everything starts to look a little differently. Anyway, I'm going to be using these little light discs. The reason why I brought it up is because I'm going to be using these light discs on the back of my my nacelles here. But I don't have to do that until we're all closed up and we're puttied up. One thing I do have to just make sure of is that we get as decent a seal as possible. We're going to have a bit of a fun time, guys, trying to get this seam cleaned up. This is not going to be fun. What I am going to recommend, and it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, it's the hardest thing to do, but I am going to recommend, at least what I'm going to do, is remove those locator pins, I think. Because what I've got to make absolutely sure I don't get is a step here, because and I'm going to do that with MEK. I think I can get penetrating MEK to melt this plastic together. So once they're just taped perfectly where I want them, then I can go ahead and start running my MEK around this, and it should melt. It should do a couple of things. It will definitely melt the plastic together, and it'll help give me a really nice bond. But if you look really carefully here, these are not lining up, and they're not lining up at all. And this is typical of these kits. You get this, unfortunately. There's not much we can do about it except remove the locator pins so that you can adjust accordingly where this needs to go. So I'm going to snip those off so that I can line this up correctly. I've got an opportunity to get a little bit of light in the back here, in this section here. And so what I'm hoping to do is I'm hoping to find myself. I've got to find. I had some squares. Some square lights. I have light blocked this, but I don't want to put too much light in here. I could, I suppose, get a little bit of SMD strip, but I don't want to do that. What I want to do is I just want to go ahead and get I think I'm going to get a 3 mil, and I'm just going to have it sit in here. And so whatever it catches, it catches. But I think that will work quite well. And here you can see the fiber optic that I've put in here, so that I can go ahead and hook up my 1.8 mil for my strobe effect. Now it's interesting. One of the things about the Ralph board, if you're going to go ahead and get it and work with it, is that all of the nav lights, all the lights surrounding the saucer, are they're flashers. They're all flashers. They're not static. And I don't know how true that is or how accurate that is to the filming miniature. It's hard to tell. In some of the shots they appear to be flashing, and in others they don't. But there are you sort of catch as catch can. It was very interesting too when you look at the design of this ship and why they did what they did to design it this way is because obviously it becomes the villain of the piece with Khan. And so you really, for geography on film, want to know where the villain is and where your hero is. Well, if both ships look the same, it can be confusing to the audience. So it was a clever reason to go ahead and create what became the Miranda-class ship. Great fun. So I'm just chipping away at things. I've managed to start getting my chiller grills in. So they're in and they're drying. I went ahead and used my clear Gorilla Glue on these. They'll go rock solid. Super happy with that. And then I will begin the process of actually closing these up. Because once these are closed up, I can go ahead and get all my seams figured out and get all this taped for light blocking and all that stuff. But I've got to really make sure this dries in well, and that just requires just a little bit of patience and time, really. But clamping them up will help keep them pushed down as well while they set up. Let me show you these. So I've got these in the insignia, and they're going to stay in the insignia. Now they'll need a decal for Shuttle Bay 1 and 2, but they won't go on into the end. But the purpose of sharing this with you is, do you see we've got all this gappage? And so we want some kind of a blue light emanating from these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out some 8050 SMD strip, and I'm going to wrap it around these after they're installed. And I think we're going to get some blue light emanating from these. Why not? I think that'll be a lot of fun. Oh, the other thing I wanted to share with you is soldering these is just an absolute game changer for me. But do you see how I've got all this schmutz on there? Now I can just go ahead and get my little Dremel sander and grind this down, and I'll be fine. You don't want to grind it down too much because you could run into the issue of losing your gluing surface. But I'm here to tell you that soldering your Photoetch, especially these large chunky parts, has been a game changer for me. Okay, so I wanted to just add that we're going to add some blue light to these. We're gonna try to do that and run them to our SMD strip lighting set. We've got plenty of room on it. I'm not worried about that. They're just open lines anyway, really, going straight to 12 volts, so we can just stack them up. Okay, so now that I'm ready to sort of start to assemble things, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get a coat of paint, get a coat of primer on these top elements, because the next thing that's going to happen is I'm going to need to run my photon torpedo wires, which, as we discussed, are magnet. Let me show you those. I've got them here. Now, one has to be. I've got one that just needs to be painted up. They're gonna be in the blue. They're ready to go though. So that's what these look like. And what I've done is I've added this very thin magnet wire, and so I've got both lines going to a single magnet wire. And again, this magnet wire is available from Evans Design. They've got it in 50-foot rolls, and it's really perfect for stuff like this. The only difficulty you've got is you have to make sure that you take just a little bit of heat, to your ends here, so that you can remove the insulation from them. Otherwise, you won't get a decent connection. And these are 3 volts because they're not resisted, because they're going to an effect. So we don't put resistors on some of the effects. Some you know, some you don't. Make sure you read properly your instructions when Ralph sends you your kit. You sometimes it's just catch can. You just got to make sure what needs to be resisted and what didn't. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because when I first started playing with Ralph's boards, I didn't pay attention to that, and I've made some very bad mistakes. And you know, I don't want you guys doing that. Okay, I'm going to get these painted up into their blue color. It's sort of a medium blue. Just putting in the last strobe on the nacelles. It's sort of fiddly because you gotta get it up and flush with this little cutout. Even though we're going to put a beauty plate over the top of it, it's classically one of those things that's awkward. And I've made a terrible mistake in the past where I thought that an angle was okay. It's not okay. If you don't angle these the same on both sides, you run the risk of one of the bulbs being dimmer than the other side. So you really don't want to do that. You want to you definitely want to try and make sure that your bulbs are the same on both sides, so that you have equal light. And that will bring us to the next complicated element here, which is to get my cob lighting into the nacelle. And what that requires is it requires all the wires to be run into the pylon, because that's how the wiring, that's how you're taking your power source, your line as it were, into the saucer so that it can be powered up, which also means that the nacelles have to get closed up, which also means that you have to figure out how to actually get these pylons to sit in here. Now, there's a couple of ways to do it. I'm experimenting with a couple of them. One is just to glue one side of the pylon down to the nacelle. The tricky thing about that, of course, is that if you don't get the angle correct, you're not going to be a happy camper. So what I'm going to attempt to do is I'm going to attempt to get my cob on the other side of the nacelle, because there's only two light sources in here. There's the chiller grill light source, which is your blue cob strip, and then your little 1.8 for your strobes. And so the plan is to get everything in situ, and then get it closed up with the wires on the outside of this pylon receiving slit right here on top, this gap. So the wires will be out and they'll be dangling, and then what I'm going to do is feed them through the pylon and permanently install the pylon in here. I've just got to make sure that everything has clearance, so that when I push the pylon down into position, that it doesn't snag on anything, that it sits in there cleanly. So take your time, and I think you'll be okay. But that's the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to feed these wires out and then slip the pylon in. I'm not going to glue half the pylon. But that is another thought process. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the cob. I'm going to get this all cleaned up here. And then I'm going to get my cob light attached to the other side of the nacelle. I then have to install this, the front of the nacelle here, of the Bassard collector. I have to install the Bassard collector now. I have given it a coat of matte. It's going to get repainted 1,000 times, I'm sure, because of nicks and touching up and all that. But I'm going to get it installed. And then once I've got that installed, I should be able to start working on the seams on the outside, and that is going to take an awful lot of time, but we will get there. We will persevere, and we will get there. It's just it's fiddly, you know, and it is time consuming when you decide to light these things. You do you do run into some interesting issues to tackle, but that's that's all part of it. I think starships like this should be lit. Now, I have got static versions of it, but I think that they do really come alive when they're lit. Well, a gracious good morning to everybody. It is week 2 on our AMT Reliant, and in no order of importance, I know we've been talking about lighting, we've been talking about priming, and we've been talking about strategy. And one of the things that I am going to do is, as I mentioned, I'm going to seal up these nacelles and have them all done so that I can putty them and work on the exterior. I also have to create a plug. I showed you those connectors earlier, and I'm going to create plugs for the holes to pull out of the holes on the side of the saucer, so that I can plug these in, push the plugs through, and then glue the nacelle in place when I'm ready to do that, so that I don't have to fiddle with anything on the inside of the saucer. I want everything to be basically buttoned up and sealed when I get ready to plug on those nacelles. It's going to be a lot easier to work on this ship. One of the things that happened very early on in part 1 is I was talking about my chiller grills that I picked up from Cass over at Lake Monster Details. And when you chew out your plastic here, and here's an example of chewed out plastic. Now I'm getting ready to prep all of this, but before I do, I wanted you to pay attention to this very raw line. Now I've sanded it down the best that I can, and I've still got a little bit of trimming to do here, and I will continue to do that. But when that is all clean, what you want to do is pick yourself up some half round. This is item 240 from Polystyrene. It's an evergreen product. It's really good. I keep it in stock. And what you're going to do then is you're going to add it to that frame, and this is the result. A absolutely clean, finished nacelle. Perfect. And it really finishes up that line. And this goes down quite well with your Tamiya thin. It's a nice little way to clean these up, and you get a good result. And then when you've done all of that, you just flip it over as I'm doing here, and I'm getting my slick tulip on the inside, so that only that chiller grill will light. Everything else will be in the dark, and that's how we want it. Curiously enough, here is a still frame from our film Wrath of Khan, and you'll notice that the Bassard collectors and the chiller grills are in fact not lit at all. They're not lit, and they weren't. So this is an add-on for the model. It's a fun add-on. I like it. I think it's worth doing. It adds an element of motion to the model. But it is interesting to know that they weren't lit, because I was struggling with that. And don't bother struggling with it. Just enjoy yourself. And if you want to make it canon, go make it canon. If you want to soup it up and put pink dots on it, knock yourself out. It's your model. Okay, just wanted to share that with you because I'm getting ready to wrap up this update. And I've got just a couple more things I want to do. I'll get the saucer on the bench, after I've finished this project up. And we'll start looking at what I've done there, because I'm going to be attaching the Tenor Controls lighting kit board to the interior of this soon. It'll be in the next update. We'll really get into it. But I just wanted to talk about basic strategy here, so that we close this on quite an update. But I wanted to share with you what I was doing, because details matter, and cleaning these up, you're going to be glad you did. And then you're going to go ahead and mask these off. And I'm just using masking tape for this. Very, very simple. And then I'll go ahead and get a coat of primer on these, and then I'll get a base coat on this after I've sealed everything up, because there's no point in doing it until you seal everything up. And my intention is to wire up everything that needs to come out of here with a plug. And obviously, if that needs to be a little wider, I'll make it wider. But the idea is that my wires will be out. One set is for my chiller grills, and the other set is for my strobe at the back of the nacelle. And so what that will allow me to do is leave it as a separate element until I'm ready to plug it in. I really don't want to do that until I've done most of the Aztecing, because I need to get to this back window, and I don't want to have to fight with anything. So I'm going to treat it as a separate element. But I'm very, very happy with the way this is looking. I think it's a decent color. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out to you is that all of my lighting now is it's all fiber optic. Now, they're pulled through, obviously, and then we'll trim them when we're ready to. That way we don't get paint over it. And I like the scale of that. I think it's really in keeping with the spirit of this with this ship. So that's a good thing. And then I have been going through my lighting plan, and I think I have everything that I need here. My nacelles have the strobes, and then of course they have the chiller grills, and those will be the cob lights, and I've got to install those before I can close up my nacelles. And then on the top of the saucer, I've got my front beacon, which is a white nav, and then I've got my port and starboard red and green, and then I've got my in the rear of the saucer, which is interesting. I've added a couple of lights that were not accounted for in Ralph's setup, which is not the end of the world. So what they are is they are flashing navs here. So and they'll be the port and starboard, which makes perfect sense. It's the rear of the rear of the saucer. If you're coming up behind the ship, it's actually, this is the correct way around. But if you're coming up behind this, you would want to see those nav lights, and so I have put those in top and bottom. Then the other thing that I've done is I have, for the top of the saucer, I've added white lights they're on the left and right side of the fusion core. Now they don't flash; they're just on, and I've put those in, and so we'll be. I've put those in. They're in the top of the saucer, not the bottom. And then you've got your bridge mood light. Now I'm going to make that a 3mm warm light, so I have some light coming through those small gaps that appear at the base of the bridge, I should say. So I've got those. I've got some ambient light in blue that I'm going to use 8050 SMD strip, and that's going to be just to give some accent light to the pieces I created. These pieces for the shuttle bays. So again, you know, here's them's those is, and I got to just grind down a little bit of schmutz there. That's just some solder I can clean up, no problem, because you'll never see that. But I've got that to do, and then I've got I've got my impulse engines, and then my sensors, and my photon torpedoes and my phasers, and so they're all ready to go. Now I've got those painted in the final color. I'm going to do a rough install of my my photon torpedoes front and rear. I've got those in the base colors, and I'm very happy with those. And they're attached to the magnet wire that's going to go through the wings of the crossbar or the strong bar, like this. So that should be good, and that's all I need for that crossbar. So I can go ahead and get that all prepped up and roughed out. Obviously, it's going to need a lot more paint. It's got decals. There's a lot to do, but roughing it out was really important because it just allows me to see where I am, and more importantly, get that wiring in, and so I can start looking at where it needs to be for final installation, because that's going to be the trick, is getting those down from the strong bar itself and then into the side of the saucer, because those are the lights that are going to be controlled by the momentary switches in the base. It's a lot, guys. I mean, you know, it's one thing to paint a model and put some decals on it, and I don't mean to be flip about that, because it's fun and it's tricky as well. But you add the element of lighting on top of it, and you've raised the bar, and you've really got to be on your game. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying it. This is going to be a fun ship to have in the collection. Okay, so I think that's a pretty healthy update for part 2. In part 3, I will be concentrating on getting the lighting kit installed into the saucer, as well as looking at the base and figuring out what I have to do to bring power up to the saucer itself from the base, and figuring out just exactly when and how I'm going to be connecting those things, because at some point I'm going to have to permanently install that brass bar. I don't have a break off for it. Somebody years ago, I think it was Trek Modeler, had a plug and play. It was a little wonky, but some kind of a plug and play for post might be a fun thing to talk to Ralph about over at Tedder Controls. I think I'll do that, because I think he can come up with something like that. It could be a fun addition for all of us to be able to do that. So anyway, that's what we'll be doing in 3, and we'll be pretty darn close. Because what I need to do is I need to be able to close up that saucer, and until I close up that saucer, I can't finish that seam. I can do the Aztecing, and we'll be looking at that in part 3 as well. Lots going on. Hey, if you want to get a hold of me, I am spruverse@gmail.com. I post most days on my Instagram account. That's @spruverse. Hey, buy me a cup of coffee. You know the drill. That's for my charitable builds, and the link to that is on my channel page. But hey, as always, I wish all of you, please, be well, be safe, build something, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Take care.